Recently, I did a poll asking my subscribers what their favorite app was. The answer to that, overwhelmingly, was DoorDash. Curiously and understandably, I hear more complaints about DoorDash than any other app. I also put out a poll asking my subscribers within the past 3 months if they've either quit doing DoorDash or considered quitting doing DoorDash. Over half of you said yes. In this video, we're going to discuss if it's time to break things off with DoorDash. You know that period in a relationship right before it ends where you find yourself staring at the other person thinking, "You're still here?" That last little bit of time where they can't do anything right and everything they do annoys you. This is going to be one of those videos. DoorDash for me has been an on-again, off-again relationship for over 2 years now. They were my first love. I actually looked forward to working more after I got off work. However, slowly, over time, I realized that they weren't as great as I had initially made them out to be. In the beginning, you had the best, wildest, most mind-blowing road trips together. But like most relationships over time, the butterflies, the unicorns, the rainbows and they fade away. In this video, I want to go through common concerns that I hear from you guys. Honestly, I feel like we in DoorDash need couples therapy. Why do you have the lowest paying orders of the big three? Why are there so many app glitches that force me offline for the rest of the day? How can you justify hiding pay from me? Would you drive an order 15 miles one way for $4.75? Do you remember promising me higher base pay for longer mileage orders? Of course you don't, but I do, because you never paid me for them. Have I ever asked you to carry a wad of cash into the ghetto? When I first started doing DoorDash, there had never been a better time to earn a lot of money as a food delivery driver. Everybody already knew what DoorDash was, and more customers than ever before were relying on them. It was easy to make $1,200 a week in my market, and I was still making substantially less than more experienced drivers were. However, in more recent days, it's kind of been a struggle to make half of that in 1 week. Unfortunately, I am far from alone in this. But how many chances are we willing to give DoorDash? They've proven disloyal to us. They're not transparent, so why should they be our main squeeze? In the interest of fairness, I would like to quickly address the things that are out of DoorDash's control. We're rapidly approaching the time of year where markets are going to start slowing down drastically. Spring and summer are notoriously slower than the cooler months. People are out doing everything under the sun, like hiking, biking, and each other. DoorDash can't do much about that. Neither can they control the outrageous cost of gas. But now let's talk about the things that are within DoorDash's control. Remember how I just said they can't control gas prices? Recently, DoorDash quietly ended the majority of their fuel assistance for drivers. Keep in mind, this did not happen because gas prices dipped temporarily. Gas prices have been steadily increasing, but yet DoorDash decided that their $3 orders going 6 miles was more than enough compensation to fuel our vehicles. What are they going to do for us next? Offer us a 2% discount on purchasing a horse and buggy? I mean, they do still offer the 10% cash back through the Dasher Direct card. However, I am not about to change my bank for a program that DoorDash will inevitably end when gas reaches $7 a gallon. And let's not forget, well, DoorDash conveniently did, that last summer, they promised to increase base pay for longer mileage orders. Here is the email that DoorDash sent out. I would encourage you to pause the video, read through that email, and see for yourself if they followed through with that promise. Okay, that's not entirely fair of me. They did follow through on part of that. They lowered our base pay. What they didn't do was raise it for those longer mileage orders. Basically, they pulled a bait and switch on us. Tell us one thing and do something completely different. How's that $400 million treating you, Tony? At the time of filming this video, gas is over $5.50 in my market. I would rather have the increased base pay than the fuel assistance. Let me explain why. When DoorDash introduced the fuel assistance program, they used what I like to refer to as theoretical math. Theoretically, one driver out there somewhere driving the specific year, make, and model that they calculated, driving exactly 47 miles, could save up to $1 a gallon on gas. Extremely limited time offer. Call now, 1-800-GET-FUCKED. It's worth mentioning that there was a cap on the amount of fuel assistance that we could receive each week. It didn't matter if you accepted 30 orders going 15 miles. you were still limited to $15. Now let me tell you why I personally would rather have the increase in base pay over the fuel assistance. Well, it doesn't seem like it now. Eventually, the cost of gas will go back to normal. When they sent the email about the increase in base pay, they didn't include any kind of an expiration date on that. Well, it may not make sense right now to take those orders, even with the increased base pay that never happened. In the future, those orders might actually make sense to take, in some cases, because eventually, gas prices will fall. Now, I could stomach all of that if it weren't for the fact that DoorDash almost always seems to have the lowest paying orders. Why is it in my market, when it's DoorDash versus Uber Eats, in the same demographic of people with a market approximately the same size, Uber Eats almost always seems to have better offers than DoorDash? And I know I'm far from alone in this. I've had hundreds of you tell me that your experience is exactly the same. Not to mention on Uber Eats, we only have to press decline once, as opposed to DoorDash, where you have to read between 4 to 47 different reasons before declining that offer. Thanks for bringing that back, Tony. Those of you who were lucky enough to temporarily lose that screen know what I'm talking about. But I digress. As if declining 15, 20 orders in a row before seeing a reasonable offer wasn't bad enough, we use an app that's temperamental on the best of days. DoorDash is by far the largest of the big three, and theoretically therefore should have the best technology. But they always seem to be the one with the app that's down. Many of you get your schedules deleted. We get paused without realizing it. We can't resume dashes, and therefore we get forced offline for the rest of the day. But we can get back on, right? Well, maybe not, because oversaturation is also a problem. Markets that usually used to be red are now frequently gray due to oversaturation. Tony and the gang have been on a tear, doubling market sizes and therefore bringing on more drivers. Now that's a great business move for DoorDash, but that's a terrible move for us. DoorDash isn't paying us an hourly rate. They don't have to purchase or lease any vehicles. They don't have to pay any kind of insurance for non-W2 employees. They want us to be like Starbucks, on every corner. But guys, there is power in numbers. I'm not saying that we should boycott DoorDash or go on strike, but what I am saying is there is a lot more of us than them. And if we treated them the same way that they treat us, with total disregard, they just might make some positive changes for the drivers. I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. If you're waiting around for an order at a restaurant, have a chat with other drivers, get to know them. Do for them what somebody did for me, and teach them. DoorDash will never be transparent with their drivers unless we force them to be. So to wrap up, it's pretty easy to get comfortable on one app. But back to that poll I had mentioned in the beginning of the video. Either half of you have quit or have considered quitting DoorDash. I would argue that there is a better way. I would argue that DoorDash is like that super hot chick with no brains whatsoever. She's nice to look at, but that's about it. DoorDash has one thing going for them, in my opinion: consistency. They will consistently send you ridiculously low offers going ridiculously far. In my eyes, all they really have going for them is order volume. However, the vast majority of these orders lately have been terrible. You know which app has less than half of the order volume but still manages to pay me more than DoorDash? Uber Eats. For you, that may be Grubhub, Instacart, Shipt, or Spark. I propose that we start treating DoorDash like a side chick. There when we need it, but should not be relied on. All of our apps should be viewed as a tool in a toolbox. Our favorite app shouldn't be DoorDash, Uber Eats, or Grubhub. Our favorite app should be the one that is making us the most money at the time with the least amount of frustration. In no other industry could they legally get away with the stuff that we tolerate on a daily basis. When was the last time a W-2 employer made you guess how much money you were going to earn? Don't worry, I'll wait. And while this isn't as extreme, there is something called Stockholm Syndrome. People become desensitized to the reality around them. Let's not fall victim to that. None of the big three treat drivers particularly well to begin with, but I would argue that DoorDash is by far the worst about it. Damn right we should be outraged. Now, there's never a perfect job, I know. The difference is W-2 jobs have legal protections in place to prevent the kind of fuckery we put up with on a daily basis. When was the last time you got activated on a new app? Mine was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Hell, I have apps I've never even used, but they're there if I need them. If DoorDash is your main app, consider shifting your focus to a different app for 1 week and see what happens. You may just find a better way of doing things. Guys, as you all know, I am just as guilty when it comes to bitching about DoorDash, but they are far from the only game in town. I'll say it again. While we do have a right to be pissed off about how we're treated, they are far from the only game in town. We do have other choices. It's time to break out that toolbox and start fixing shit for ourselves. I want to hear from you guys. Tell me all of the apps you're activated on, and put them in order of your favorite to least favorite. Well, that's going to about wrap up the video. If you haven't done so yet, please do consider pressing that like and subscribe button. If you are kind enough to subscribe, let me know in the comment section below. Tell me your name and the market you drive in, and I'll be sure to thank you at the end of my next ride-along video. My name is Zach. Take care.